Can we carve pumpkins now? Luke asked. And then can I have some candy? No way, Emma said, grabbing the remote and flipping through the channels until she found a scary movie. Mom and Dad left me in charge, and I say we're watching this. But I want to do Halloween stuff, Luke protested. Please, Emma? He gave her his best puppy dog eyes, but Emma remained immune. Nope, I'm in charge. Which means we're watching this movie. Now be quiet. Luke crossed his arms and stuck out his bottom lip dramatically. You're no fun. I'm telling Mom and Dad you're being mean. Go ahead, you little shit. I don't care, Emma said. It's totally unfair that I have to watch you at all tonight. I had a party to go to. Well, I didn't want to be babysat, Luke shot back. I'm 8 years old. I don't need a stupid babysitter. Emma rolled her eyes. Sure you don't. Just be glad I'm only making you watch a movie. Now shush. Luke let out a sigh but settled resignedly onto the couch. Dumb little turd muncher, Emma thought. She shouldn't have to deal with this. She should have been at Monica's party, making out with Todd and maybe even sharing a joint with him. Instead, she was relegated to babysitting and ignoring trick-or-treaters. Great. They watched the babysitter murders kills. In silence for a while their parents were out having a grand old time at the special Halloween screening of the final part in the trilogy, The Babysitter Murders Ends. About halfway through, Luke started squirming. I have to pee, he announced. Then go pee, Emma said, not looking away from the screen. Can't you pause it? Emma groaned. Ugh, fine. She paused the movie as a big-breasted teen screamed at the camera, and Luke scurried off to the bathroom. While she waited for him to return, an idea started forming in Emma's mind. A deliciously perfect idea for scaring the ever-living shit out of her annoying little brother. This could be the best part of the night. When Luke came back, Emma turned off the TV. Time for your bath, she announced. Luke's eyes went wide. What? No, I want to finish watching the movie. Nope, bath time, Emma said, hustling him towards the stairs. You're all sweaty and smell like microwave dog shit from running around all day. Don't want you stinking up Mom and Dad's nice clean couch. I don't stink, Luke argued, checking his pits, but Emma ignored him. She herded Luke into the bathroom and started running the bath water. Use lots of bubbles, Luke said as he took off his baseball tee and jeans. Yeah. Emma poured half the bottle of bubble bath under the faucet. Soon the tub was filled with mounds of fluffy white bubbles. Okay, get in, Emma told Luke, and make it quick. I'm missing more of my movie waiting for you. Luke carefully climbed into the tub and sat down amongst the bubbles. Emma started to walk out, then paused in the doorway. It was time to put her plan into action. Hey, Luke, want me to tell you a story? She asked. Luke glanced up suspiciously. What kind of story? A scary one, Emma said as she suppressed a grin. About the people who lived in this house before us. Perfect for Halloween. Ooh, tell me, Luke said, his eyes lighting up. He loved scary stories. Emma came back and sat on the closed toilet lid, ready to freak her brother out. Okay, so before we moved here, there was another family called the Murphys who lived in this house, Emma began. She lowered her voice ominously. They had a son named Michael who was about your age, and one Halloween, on a night just like tonight, something really bad happened to him. Luke shivered, sending ripples through the bubbly bath water. What happened? He asked. Well, Emma drew out the suspense. Michael was taking a bath just like you're doing now. But somehow, he drowned. He drowned right there in that bathtub. Luke's eyes widened in fear. He drowned in here? In this bath? Emma nodded grimly. Yup. Right where you're sitting. His parents were downstairs and didn't even realize anything was wrong. She watched as Luke squirmed uncomfortably in the tub. This was going perfectly. Lowering her voice to a creepy whisper, Emma continued the tale. When Michael's parents found him, they totally freaked out. They knew they would get in huge trouble if anyone found out their son died because they weren't watching him. Luke gulped nervously. His eyes kept darting around the bathroom as if expecting to see Michael's ghost. So, what happened? Luke asked. They ran a new bath, Emma said, pausing for dramatic effect. Except this time, Instead of water, they filled the tub with acid. Luke gasped. Acid? Why? To get rid of Michael's body, of course, Emma explained. They lowered him into the tub in the dead of night. The acid ate away at his skin and muscles and organs until there was nothing left of him, until he was just goo. Luke recoiled in horror, sloshing bathwater over the tub's edge. That's so gross. Emma grinned, thrilled by his reaction. I know. Then Michael's parents pulled the drain plug, and his melted remains slipped away down the pipe, like he was never there at all. You're making this up. That didn't happen. Yes, it did, Emma insisted. Some people say this house is still haunted by Michael's ghost to this day, that he's still trying to get revenge on the family who let him die, who tried to erase him. She leaned forward and looked meaningfully at the drain underneath the bathwater. Luke followed her gaze, then quickly pulled his feet away from the drain. They say sometimes you can even hear his voice, calling from the pipes, Emma whispered ominously. Luke crossed his arms, trying to look brave, but she could see he was totally freaked out. You're just trying to scare me. Ghosts aren't real. If you say so, Emma stood up and grinned. I'm going to get a snack, finish up your bath, and get ready for bed. She walked out of the bathroom, hiding her gleeful smile until Luke couldn't see. As she headed downstairs, Emma couldn't contain her laughter over her perfect revenge. Now Luke knew how she felt being forced to skip the party. Luke hesitated as he reached for the shampoo bottle, glancing warily at the drain. Emma was just trying to scare him with that story. Right? He squirted some shampoo into his hand and started lathering up his hair. As he did, Luke suddenly heard a strange gurgling sound. He paused, listening closely. There it was again, coming from the drain. Almost like a voice. Luke! A creepy, watery voice whispered from below the bathwater. Luke felt his insides turn to ice. Emma! He yelled, hugging his knees to his chest. Emma, come back! There's something in the drain! No answer came. Luke stared at the drain in horror as the metal plug started to rattle back and forth. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Luke! The voice gurgled. Why didn't you save me? Luke screamed as the drain cover suddenly popped off, revealing a dark circular void. This couldn't be happening. Emma's story wasn't real. Emma sauntered back into the bathroom, feigning surprise at the sight of Luke curled into a ball in the tub. What's wrong with you? She asked with mock concern. Luke's wide eyes darted around the room. The drain, he whispered. I heard a voice calling my name. Emma suppressed an eye roll. Her plan to scare him had worked a little too well, apparently. A voice in the drain? Emma said dubiously. Oh my God, do you think it's the ghost coming to get you, Luke? Shit. Oh well, I'm sure it will be fine. As if on cue, the tub began gurgling as the water started draining out. Luke yelped and pressed himself against the far side of the tub. Oh my God, look at you, Emma said. You are such a little dweeb. It's just the drain, Asat. The water level dropped steadily, the gurgling growing louder. It wasn't the drain, Luke said as he shook his head. The voice said my name. It sounded like a little kid. He shuddered, glancing fearfully at the metal grate. Emma bit back a smile, enjoying her brother's terror. Luke! The eerie voice echoed up from below, barely audible over the drain's gurgle. Why did you let me drown, Luke? Luke slapped his hands over his ears, eyes squeezed shut. Make it stop, he begged. Okay, you got me, Emma said with faux annoyance. I'm obviously just making spooky voices to mess with you. Now stop acting like a baby and get out of the tub already. Right, you're pranking me. Luke hesitantly lowered his hands, relief washing over his face. Duh! He started to stand up just as the drain plug suddenly shot out of its fitting with a loud pop. Luke screeched and plopped back down into the few inches of remaining water. The voice echoed louder from the open pipe, twisting with an unnatural watery warble. Why did you leave me to die, Luke? Why? The drain grate began to rattle violently. Luke whimpered, frozen in place, He stared pleadingly at his sister. Okay, Emma, you got me good. Now knock it off. But the look on Emma's face told him this wasn't her doing. She gaped at the quivering drain, mouth agape, as something dark and amorphous started to ooze out. The siblings watched in horror as a small, pale hand reached from the ooze like a rattlesnake, grasping at the slick porcelain sides. Its flesh was withered and peeling, bone visible through corroded muscle. Luke screamed as the creature pulled itself further out of the pipe. Its head emerged, a grotesque parody of a human child. Lidless eyes sat deep in mottled sockets, framed by tufts of sodden hair. The lower half of its face was missing, only a yawning black maw in its place. It turned that terrible void toward Luke, releasing an unearthly moan as it dragged its ruined body from the drain. Luke thrashed in the tub, whimpering, unable to tear his eyes away from the monstrous thing clawing toward him. He felt paralyzed, like his terror had turned his limbs to stone. "Emma!" he finally choked out. "Help me!" Emma stood motionless, mouth working wordlessly as she struggled to comprehend the nightmare before her. She blinked hard, believing her eyes must be playing tricks. But the creature was undeniably real, slithering over the tub's edge, oozing putrid water across the floor. Luke writhed in its grip as it pulled him closer, forcing his head under the shallow water. Emma snapped out of her shocked paralysis. "Fuck! Luke!" She grabbed the shower rod for balance and kicked out at the creature, driving her foot into its sunken chest. It hardly seemed to notice, fixated on drowning the helpless boy. Luke thrashed and gurgled as the foul water flooded his mouth. The creature cackled, a watery burble erupting from its ravaged throat. "You let me die!" it screeched, rotating its head at an unnatural angle to glare at Emma with those horrible empty eyes. It slammed Luke's head against the tub floor, eliciting a pained yelp. Emma screamed and clawed at the creature's back, shredding chunks of wet flesh. Still, it did not release her poor little brother. Luke's struggles grew weaker as his lungs burned. Gurgling whimpers escaped his throat between desperate gulps for air. "This can't be fucking happening. Mom, Dad, please help." Emma cast about wildly for a weapon. Spying a discarded shampoo bottle, she grabbed it and began bashing the creature about its mottled head. "Let him go!" she grunted in time with her frenzied blows. The bottle shattered, coating them all in viscous soap. The creature hardly seemed to register the attack. It stared lovingly down at Luke as his movements slowed. But it was too late. Emma could see Luke's skin dissolving. He opened his mouth to scream, and he waved a hand out for his big sister to grab him, hold on to him as he slowly ended. Their fingers brushed as their eyes met. But Emma had to look away as the screaming stopped and the blood vessels in Luke's eyes burst, the milky white replaced with a gut-wrenching crimson. The force of the creature's hold had dragged him halfway into the drain, his body stretched and contorted in a grotesque parody of life. Luke's body was pulled slowly and painfully into the small hole, his bones snapping and crushing, skin flailing, blood spraying everywhere. His eyes bulged from their sockets as he fought to scream out for help that would never come. Emma leaned over the edge of the tub, desperately trying to grab onto her brother one last time. With a final violent wrench, it yanked the boy's slack body against its own, just as the last bit of flesh and sinew disappeared down the drain. Luke and the creature fused together, their combined mass shrinking and shifting until they were one misshapen hunk of flesh. Emma sat, shell-shocked against the wall, drenched in blood and brain and all that remained of her little brother. There was a guttural belch from the pipe. Then the bathroom fell silent once more. After a few moments, Emma finally managed to make her legs move and walk down the stairs to the front door on jelly. She opened the front door, and the crisp October night made the gore that coated her begin to harden and crust. Sirens and screams already filled the night air from some chows she couldn't see nearby, so she dropped to her knees so hard they almost shattered and let out a howl of sheer horror the whole world could hear.